Hey, Dawn, superhero helping people have better days. Is a Mother's Day a difficult day for you? If so, this video is for you. It's also good if Father's Day is difficult for you or really anything that has to do with the parent child relationship. These are some good tips for those situations. Uh, this video is for the child that struggles with the mom and the mom that struggles with the child. I'm nestled right there in the middle, and I've had to accept, move past some hard truths and about how I feel and about how society perceives those relationships should go, um, and not being able to do that way. Examples are people who don't like their mom, either as a mom or as a person, people who were abandoned by their mom, people who were disliked or mistreated by their mom or still are, uh, moms who have experienced parental alienation, where a child is kept from you and no matter what you've tried, you can't fix that. Moms with kids who don't like them, it happens. Kids don't like the mom. Moms with kids who have cut them off, either children in divorce or adult children who have cut them off. If that interests you, stick around. If you think you know someone who might benefit from hearing tips on how to cope in those situations, feel free to send it to them. If you can't make it through the whole video now and you need these tips, add it to your watch later. This video is closed captioned. I've edited it all, so if you want to read along, feel free to do that. You can also get the transcript down below if you would rather just read. Please take a second to hit the like button if you don't mind. And if you haven't already subscribed, that will really help a lot. I'm up over 2,000 subscribers and helping more people have better days. And that's, what we need. We need better days. I'm going to do shout outs at the end of the video. So today I've got 10 tips to help children or moms get through not only Mother's Day, but being triggered any day. Mother's Day is triggering. It is for me, and I'm sure it is for other people. And I do these things to help myself through it, and I wanted to share them. And maybe you can put it through the you filter and see how you can apply them to you, and it'll help you have a better day too. Oh, these tips work for fathers and children as well. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to talk to you about why these things happened, either to me or to you. I'm not going to give any suggestions on what to do about the relationship aspect of it. I'm just going to talk about you because that's what you can do something about, is you, and that's it. That's where your personal power lies, is within you. So if you watch any of my content, you know that narcolepsy is a thing for me, and irrational situations are one of my narcolepsy triggers. So when I experience an irrational situation, I can have cataplexy from it, or it can generate a sleep episode where I just feel like sleeping and doing nothing else. And that's in my brain. It's not like, oh, I think I'm just going to lay in bed and do nothing. It's like my brain can't wake itself up. It's not like being drugged, kind of, without the drugs. That's what narcolepsy is often. It's like being drugged without the drugs. So irrational situations are a big trigger for me. And I spent way too much of my time trying to solve irrational situations. Like, why don't they do the thing? And why do they do the thing? When will they get their act together? But you can't know. It's impossible to know. And even if they tell you, you still can't know. So number one, everyone is doing the best they can from where they're at. And this includes them, you, and anyone else involved in whatever happened. It's hard to accept. It really is, especially if it seems like people are sucking on purpose. It's important to remember that there's no instruction manual for being a human being, and we're all just figuring out our own ish as we go along through this life. We're a culmination of all of our experiences up till right now. And sometimes those experiences can threaten to destroy us. Yeah, I can testify to that for certain. It nearly did destroy me. So it's extra important if you have any kind of this stuff going on in your life that you give yourself grace. And what does that look like? It looks like you just being nice to yourself, is giving yourself grace. Number 2, from the cradle to the grave, you are the only constant. It's impossible for another being to be with you on the entire journey. And accepting that and reflecting on it, looking at all the people who have come and gone in my life, people who I never thought would go, went, people who I never expected showed up. And you have to come to terms with that, with the fact that people come and go, and you're the only constant that's going to be from the beginning to the end. And it's easy to do with somebody that you don't care about, harder to do with someone you don't care about. And it requires superpowers for someone that you love beyond words. It really does. You got to dig deep for this one, because you have to keep going, right? This is your story, your life. So try tools like these to help you find your way. Number 3, grief is love with nowhere to go. I read that in a meme, and it really immediately became a tool in my toolbox. And when I got my love stuck, I want to give that love, and that person either doesn't want to have it or rejects it or what have you, or they can't be found to give it to them. Whatever it is that wells up inside of you, and it becomes grief. And one thing I found that helps me is taking that expression of love and just sharing it with someone who's stuck around, someone who's still there, someone that you love, that you have feelings for. And it doesn't have to be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be someone special in your life, and even a pet. If you don't have anyone special in your life, you can give your love to that pet. The important thing is that you don't let it bottleneck inside of you, that you let it flow out of you somehow. Even if you just sing love songs and just get it out. They're not stuck. I'm personally full of love. I give it away like all day, every day on social media and in my life in general. And it comes back to me in like abundance. I don't necessarily know who it's going to come from or where it comes from. And it may not be from the person I want it to come from, but it comes. And being loving, regardless of your circumstances, it helps you have better days. It does. Good for you inside of you. Let's see. Number 4. There's no do-over. You don't get a second chance. There's no extra man at 100,000 points. This is it. This is the only life you're going to get. It's a one-time ticket as a human being. And you don't know when your time is going to be up. So you can't unring a bell, right? You can't go back and change it. It's only forward progress, and you don't get to do it over. So focus on now, what you can do now, and going forward from now. Number 5, feel your feels, but keep your feet out of the fire. If we're on board with the notion that everyone's doing the best they can, including you, right? So there's no benefit in shaming or berating or being mad at yourself for what happened or what's happening or what will happen. That's where grace comes in You can't, if you use the analogy that someone opened the hood of an automobile and told you to fix it, it's essentially the same thing, if unless you're a mechanic, of course, or you have some exposure to that. You wouldn't have any idea where to begin and what to do, and anything that you try to do could be potentially damaging, etc. Life is just like that. Like, all you can do is do what you think is the best and hope for the best. Um, Letting go of the past isn't like dropping off your dirty laundry, one and done. It's ongoing letting go of the past. It comes back like indigestion. You consume something that puts you back in that headspace where it happened. Maybe someone says something, or you remember something, or you see something that triggers you, and that familiar gnawing agony comes back inside of you. And at that point, you need to kind of treat it like indigestion, and you need to not do things that are going to make it worse. And you need to soothe yourself however you can, in any way that you can, because getting through it should be the most important thing. Those aren't feels that you want to sit in. It doesn't do anyone any benefit for you to sit in those hard, where your stomach is bad feelings. Get through it. Nurture yourself through it. Everyone has things that comfort them. The problem is that when we get into those feels, it's hard to remember that we have things that comfort us. So realizing that you can comfort yourself and have your own back is important. And that's another reason why I wanted to do this video specifically to launch today, because I know a lot of people are having a hard time today. So have your own back. Number 6, mom yourself, right? Many of us didn't get the nurturing that we needed as kids, and it affected us well into our adulthood. And one thing that helps me is giving me the things that I need. There, dear. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. Be gentle with yourself. There's no reason to beat yourself up for it. Treat yourself like you would someone that you love, because you should be someone that you love. And when you do that, then it doesn't matter if anyone else is doing it for you, because you're not living in that place of lack. You feel comforted and you feel loved because you're doing that job for yourself. Number 7, self-care. A lot of people think self-care is selfish, but self-care is just taking care of yourself. That's really all it is. It's not a spa day, although those are nice. It's looking out for yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. No one has the power to make you feel better. They might come along and do some cool things and provide a little bit of comfort, but it's you who decides to feel better. It's you who allows yourself to feel better. They just helped. So if there's no one around to help, you can accomplish the task completely by yourself with the right tools that you can create for yourself. That's why it's called self-care. You have to do it for yourself. All right. Number 8, turn the page. It's tempting to continue to tell the story, especially if it's irrational. Whether we're updating people on what happened since we last saw them, seeing old friends who don't know what happened yet, or meeting someone new and feeling the need to catch them up on our story. Resist. We can rationalize our want to talk about it many different ways. We can let ourselves believe that it's important to tell the truth, or it's the right thing to do, or that we have an obligation to fill people in, to let them know. But just like the past comes back as indigestion, talking about it all the time can be like drinking straight stomach acid. It doesn't help you or the person you're talking to. Unless, of course, they're a therapist. I don't want anyone to misconstrue this video as meaning don't talk to a qualified person who can help you through trauma. Maybe you even have those special times or moments or people that you have a private venting session with. When I'm saying don't talk about it, I'm talking about going to a Mother's Day party and people are asking you questions. It makes things harder for you. So if you want to have a better day, letting go of your story is a big part of that. You're fielding statements like, they'll come back, one day they'll figure it out. And those kind of statements, they don't help, like at all. Instead of letting their statements take you on a roller coaster ride, just change the subject. It's not the time or place to be thinking about this. It's when you're stuck in hard feelings. That's like salting a wound. Think about it tomorrow. If you want to think about it tomorrow. Today's not the day for that. Glossing things over in false hope don't help either. You really have no idea what's going to happen. And just like you wouldn't stand there with a pin poking yourself, intentionally hurting yourself physically because someone else is expecting an update. Don't do it verbally either, because you feel it. You feel it. If you don't feel it, if it doesn't bother you, you wouldn't be watching this video. So try. It was hard for me to give up my story. It was hard for me to stop telling it. And even if you go back in some of my older videos, you'll see I don't tell my story the same way as I did 8 years ago when I started this. So there's a real benefit to not talking about stuff. Number 9, feelings can be fleeting and feelings can be a lie. Especially if you've had a traumatic past, which if you have parent-child issues and you're watching this video, you probably have had a traumatic past, especially if you have a negative soundtrack like Mike Tyson going to town on you in your head. Imagine for a minute that you cut your arm and you got some butterfly tape holding it together, but it's an open wound. And you go about your day and you forget that you have this wound on your arm. And then, you bump into something or you move your arm a certain way and you feel it. And then you look at it and seeing it makes it hurt even more. And then you got to sit there and you got to wait for the throbbing to stop because all of your attention has gone onto this wound. And that's what talking about it is like. You're putting your attention on whatever it was that jacked you up in the first place. And if you just sit tight and let the throbbing stop, it'll help you get through it easier. Letting yourself forget emotional pain is no different than letting yourself forget you have a cut on your arm. You're not going to intentionally sit in that feel because it's painful. And it's the same thing with an emotional wound that you can't do anything about, especially if it's in the past. Number 10, remembering that happy matters. It doesn't matter what's happening around us. I'm sure you've heard the phrase happiness is an inside job. When your mom doesn't love you the way that you want them to, happiness seems wrong, right? Doesn't it? Like, how can you be happy when your child doesn't like you, or when your mom doesn't like you, and or doesn't have that kind of relationship with you that you want to have? You look around. Happiness is for those people who have that kind of relationship. It's not for you. But that's not true. You can still find things to be happy about, even dealing with incredibly painful things in your life. We're each here to live our own lives. So I remind myself that happy matters. Happy matters so much I trademarked it, so I'll never forget. 41 years, I let myself convince myself that my relationship issues and my health issues and my financial issues were keeping me from being happy. But the truth is, it was me the whole time. I was gatekeeping myself from my happiness. And you maybe are doing that too. I don't know. I don't know who you are, but you can ask yourself that question and look for little bits of happy, little niblets of happy that you can find along the way because they matter. This whole being a human being experience, you're supposed to enjoy it, at least some of it. So, happy matters helps you do that. Hopefully, some of these 10 tools resonated for you if Mother's Day or Father's Day or some other kind of day like that is difficult for you. Um, when you find yourself triggered, try them. They're listed down below in short form if you want to copy them down or whatever. You can also download the transcript, I guess, and print it out if you wanted the reminder. If you want one-on-one guidance navigating through your own personal journey, um, moving forward from something like that, I have coaching information on my website at dawnsuper.com. And now it's time for shout outs. I want to give mad thanks to anyone who's still listening at this point. That's a helpful thing for me too, that you're still listening. So a special thank you to Journey Metaspirit, Krishna Barali, Lisa Ziccarelli, Lynn Stryker, Dobbs. Thank you so much. That was really helped me a lot that day, that comment. Honey Woodcore, Tom Swoverland, hang in there, Tom, Sarah Lee, and 91 Dreamscaper. Thank you so much for commenting on my videos, and keep an eye out for my shorts, mental health encouraging tips, 59 seconds at a time. Make it a great day. The choice is always yours.